Then and Now with Cooperative Extension. I'm Cameron Lowe.
And I'm Tommy Grandy, County Agriculture Extension Agent.
Today we'd like to talk to you about muscadines. And I know, Tommy, that growing up there was a muscadine vine that grew kind of close to behind my house. And that was one of my favorite things to do in the late summer, early fall. My cousins and I would go back there and pick some of those fresh muscadines and eat them and have seed spitting contests. It was great growing up as a kid. And I know we still have a lot of those around here. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about that grape?
Sure, and I remember the same things as I grew up about this type of grape. And they referred to them as muscadine grapes. But back then, they referred to them a lot as white grapes, okay, or even Skeppernine. A lot of people know them as Skeppernine, but now the terminology uses muscadine grapes. And they date back probably to the late 1500s, coming into the United States. And always said there was another vine in Manio that was where a lot of the cultivars actually come from. So they're very popular in the area, very popular for fresh market and also for wine production now. So they've come a long ways.
So I know people, I've heard a lot of people say that either there's no need to prune these muscadines, or that if they prune them too much, they're going to kill the vines. And those are some of the myths I've heard. Can you kind of debunk those for us? What are the pruning techniques and things like that?
Yes, you definitely do to prune grapevines, mainly because grapevines grow grapes on new wood each year. And it's important to prune them and prune them back significantly because they easily can overgrow, because the muscadine grape does do well with very few pests in our area and can be very invasive. And if you don't cut it back, it will easily get out of control. And we need to prune grapes yearly. We don't need to forget a year because they can easily get behind. So we need to select a trellis system that works for you. There are several trellis systems available. And I suggest that people get one that fits their garden situation.
And Tommy, I know you shot a little bit of a pruning video for us, so why don't we take a look at that now?
We're going to talk about pruning grapevines today, but there's some equipment and tools you probably need to have before you ever start. It's always good to have a pretty pair of leather gloves or leather palm gloves that you can wear. Get a good pair of hand pruners that are really sharp and they can stand a lot of cut. Also, you need to have on hand a set of limb loppers for removing heavy vines that have gotten too large or maybe have died.
So you talked to us about a trellis system just a moment ago, and I know you actually showed us a trellis system on the video as well, so take a look.
On a muscadine vine, we have a central trunk, and you have a wire that was trellised up before the vines ever got growing. It's set at 5 feet, and it runs about 10 foot. The vine runs about 10 foot in each direction. It comes down to this point here. And you keep the fruiting wood on that main vine, and it just goes up and branches out, and you kind of concentrate. Always you want to keep one cardon by going in each direction. You can see here that the vines have been cut back. They'll produce a lot of growth come spring, and this is where your new growth will come from, and this is where your grapes will be bared off of. It's off growth that comes off of these branches this spring. And when you cut back grapevines, you can always tell by the different color wood what year wood we have. Last year's growth shows up very brown and golden in color, and you want to cut that back probably to about 2 to 4 nodes that the new buds will come out on. And
how do you make that cut? Can you explain what we're seeing here?
Yes, when you look for that type of wood, and it's like you say, you can easily go back and cut back severely, and you're always getting new growth. But if you go back to the new wood that was made last year, we'll make a cut just a little above one of the nodes, and so that it will bud out from that point on. And we remove the rest of the vines, of course. You can always put your pruners at a branch angle if you can to cut back. So in essence, the more you cut back off that very hardy vine, the more grapes you're going to produce each year.
Now, Tommy, you've mentioned to me earlier something about vines bleeding. What is that, and is it a problem?
They normally bleed, and the later in the year they bleed, and they drip constantly for a few days, but this is a natural healing process for the vine itself. It will not hurt the vine. These vines are very resilient, so no concern when they bleed. And just remember to keep that system that you're going to be pruning for, or the system that you have, be very determined to keep that same system year after year. and don't let any extra growth kind of take over, because the more growth you have, the less production you're going to have in those vines in the long run.
So it is necessary to prune for maximum production, and you really can't hurt them. This has been Then and Now with Cooperative Extension.